When it comes to politics and government, she is one of my favorite thinkers on the subject, Janet Jackson. This year is the 35th anniversary of her groundbreaking solo album, Control, and it has one of my favorite songs, especially for anyone considering a career in politics. I mean, it's a fair question, and it's one we need to ask our elected officials often. We have a new answer today with the American Rescue Act passing the Senate on party lines, but the question may be more urgent than it has been in a long time, considering how dissatisfied many Americans are with today's politics. Is now the time for a viable, sizable third party? It may have been time for a long time. Gallup polls have shown majority support, or close to it, for a third party since September of 2006. But now, the support is higher than ever. In the latest survey, 62% of Americans say the Democratic and Republican parties do such a poor job of representing the American people that a third major party is needed. This survey was done weeks after the attack on the Capitol, which explains the leap in support for a third party among Republicans. It was just 40% back in September. Now it's 63%. And not surprisingly, independents are the strongest supporters. The poll was done before we knew of efforts by Republicans to form an anti-Trump third party. One leader of that effort, Evan McMullin, spoke to us a few weeks ago.
It's better for the country that there are two healthy parties committed to democracy. We should all be committed to that. And the Republican Party, if it has to go through a period of division in order to recommit to democracy and our founding values, and if that means losing a few races, if that means losing a few rounds, a few cycles of elections in order to retool and become a pro-democracy party committed to our values, then it's worth it.
Now, let's be fair. Government workers and elected officials get a ton of things accomplished every day on the state and county and city levels. So I'm guessing a lot of this is driven by what happens on Capitol Hill. And some of this just has to do with political leanings, making parties more progressive, more conservative, or, and this is a big one, more moderate. And that's what fascinates me most. That Gallup poll about a third party also asked about party shifts. Among Republicans, the plurality of them say the party should be more conservative than it is. Independents who lean Republican say the same. But Democrats, they're very split. Gallup found that most voters in the party say it should either stay the same or be more liberal. But the plurality of independents say it should be more moderate, then more liberal. And the smallest group says it should stay the same. So if this poll's any indication, the voters who might become part of the party want something very different than the people in the party do. I'm starting to wonder if the real challenge for the parties is different than we might think. Now, the threat to the GOP is clear. The party is so wedded to Donald Trump that it's not pushing back against his rhetoric, even after it gets people killed. But policy-wise, its voters remain pretty much in sync. Democrats know that the nation's demographics are looking more like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez than Joe Manchin, more diverse, more progressive. We have known that for a long time. But remember, that's still a party that's at odds with independents who lean its way. So if a party came along that appealed to those independents, a party for nonpartisans, what would it look like? Hopefully it would not lead to perpetual gridlock, like in Israel's parliament, the Knesset. This month they hold their fourth national election in 2 years because the 17 factions in the Knesset can't keep a coalition government together. I worry about third parties that rise to power as single-issue parties, playing on the fears and frustrations of voters without a larger plan to govern. That's what happened in the UK with UKIP, the party that championed Brexit. Not only did it succeed, but Britain's Conservative Party burned through 2 prime ministers before settling on a pro-Brexit leader, Boris Johnson. And God forbid that a third-party candidate exploits more of our worst impulses. That happened in the 1968 presidential race. Nixon won, But a candidate with the American Independent Party won 5 southern states. He had been the governor of Alabama.
I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
Partisanship has gotten extremely poisonous. We've gone from telling constituents, check out how I helped you, to saying, check out how I hurt them. Would a third party focus on building a better us, or just a new way to hurt them? Maybe that's the problem with our idea of bipartisanship. The goal is actually to do what's politically profitable for both major parties. It's about pleasing the parties, not the people. Do we need a third party, or is there still time for our 2 major parties to do better? The COVID relief bill stands to be a big accomplishment, but sadly, that Janet Jackson song could very well be about Congress far too often.
You ought to be thankful for the little things, but little things are all you seem to give.
What have you done for us lately? Apparently not enough to attract more of the voters who agree with you. President Biden's calling for bipartisanship. Perhaps he should have called for something else. Results. And with that, we'd love to hear from you, especially if you're an independent or nonpartisan voter. If you are an independent, what would it take for you to join a party? Maybe it's the Democrats, the Republicans, the Libertarians, the Green Party, maybe a new party, but what would it take to win you over? Email us, theweek@msnbc.com. Tweet us @theweekmsnbc. Do tell us your name, where you live. Keep it brief, 100 words or fewer, please. And we'd love to hear from you if you were in a party but quit. What would it take to get you back? theweek@msnbc.com. We'll share some of your demands tomorrow.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.